Now we're going to talk about the basic discipline methods. And the first 3 discipline methods that I'm going to present are basic communication skills that increase in assertiveness from mild to firm. And we're going to start with the first, and if that doesn't work, then we move on to the second and then the third. And they are polite requests, iMessages, and firm reminders. So the first one, polite requests, we're going to go over, and then I'm going to get into the iMessages and the firm reminders shortly after that. So the polite requests, this is, as opposed to harsh orders or silent wishes. Not every problem or conflict requires firm discipline or a lot of discussion. Asking your child politely for what you want is often enough to influence them to change their behavior, especially if your relationship is already a positive one. So when your child doesn't know what you want in a situation, your first step is to politely make your desires known through a request. After all, the children are not mind readers. So for example, you've decided that you no longer want to pamper your child by picking up the dirty dishes that they leave in the den. And your polite request might be, "Hey honey, from now on, will you do me a favor and bring your dirty dishes to the sink when you're through with your snack?" And if your child agrees, be sure to add, "Hey, thanks, that'd be a big help." And that may sound simple, that it sounds so ridiculous, but sometimes that's all a child needs. Of course, you could let it simmer inside for another week until you're really fed up and then burst out with, "I'm sick and tired of you leaving your mess around for me to have to pick up your mess. What do you think I am, your servant? If you weren't so lazy and inconsiderate," and then you just go on and on and on. But that's not likely to produce responsibility or cooperation or dishes in the sink, at least not on a regular basis. And if at first your child does not comply with your polite request, offer a friendly reminder. "Hey, I noticed you forgot to put your dishes in the sink. Can you please come get them?" Then we want to use I messages versus you messages. If your child is repeatedly forgetting to keep an agreement or continuing the problem behavior, you need a stronger message. And I messages are firm and friendly communications that produce surprisingly effective results. Psychologist Tom Gordon called them I messages in his pioneering program, Parent Effectiveness Training, which is PET, because they shift the emphasis from the child, a traditional you message, to how the parent, I, feels about the child's behavior. So an I message is going to allow you to say how you feel without blaming or labeling. It's going to make it more likely that your child hears what you are saying because you say it in a respectful manner. You're going to tell your child how the behavior affects others, like your feelings, and put the emphasis on the child's behavior rather than their personality. And we're going to give our child clear information about what change in behavior you want. So the typical I message, we'll get into this in a second, but it's got a typical format. When you do XYZ behavior, I feel blank. Insert a feeling word here. We want to steer clear of making the mistake of saying, "I feel that you are being lazy," or "I feel that you are stupid," or "I feel that you're being a butthead." Okay, those are just judgment statements. So you want to put the feeling that you are feeling about their behavior. So I feel disappointed. I feel disrespected. I feel hurt. I feel let down. We're focusing on our thoughts and feelings as opposed to their, or making judgment statements about their behavior. When to use an iMessage? iMessages are effective only when the parent owns the problem, when you have the responsibility and the authority to decide on the solution. And since iMessages work best when delivered in a firm and calm tone of voice, we want to avoid using them when we're too angry. Allow time to cool off and then approach your child when you've regained that control. An angry iMessage is an easy trigger for a power struggle. So there are 4 parts of an iMessage. First, we want to name the behavior or the situation we want changed. In order to avoid attacking our child's self-esteem, it's important to separate the deed from the doer. It's not that your child's bad, only that you have a problem with something that they're doing. So by beginning the statement aimed at the behavior, we're avoiding triggering a power struggle. So we can start by either saying, I have a problem with blank, or when you blank. So for example, I have a problem with you leaving the dirty dishes in the den, or when you leave dirty dishes in the den, and then you finish the sentence. But you want to follow that up after focusing on the behavior with how you feel about the situation. So we want to say it without raising our voice. And that is going to let the child know that the problem is serious to you. And a lot of parents use the word angry to describe their feelings. And that's frequently masking their other emotions, mainly fear and hurt. Anger is a surface level emotion. That's what comes out on the surface, but usually there's a primary emotion underneath that. And that may typically be fear or hurt or disrespect or I felt jealous or lonely. And kids are less defensive and they're better able to hear us when we express these and other less threatening feelings instead of always relying on anger. So we might say, I feel concerned, or I feel hurt. And those are both closer to the truth and more effective in many cases. Another example, you could say, I feel taken advantage of. And we want to state our reason. Nobody likes to be treated as if they're a robot and expected to just blindly be obedient. If you're going to change what's comfortable to you to please someone, you're at least going to want that person to have a good reason for asking you to make that change. And children feel this as strongly as adults do. A simple explanation about how your child's behavior is interfering with your needs can go a really long way. So, for example, because I have to spend time and energy cleaning up after you. And then we want to say what we want done. You've already made the polite request or two, and now you're getting more assertive, and that means letting the child know exactly what you want done. Remember, you get more of what you ask for than what you don't ask for. And so this step can start with I want or I would like. So, for example, when you leave the den, I want you to bring your dirty dishes to the kitchen and put them in the dishwasher. Putting this I message all together. So when you do X, Y, Z behavior, I feel, insert your feeling word, because, state the reason, and in the future I want for blank to happen. So I want or I would like for XYZ to happen. So let's put this all together. I have a problem with you leaving dirty dishes in the den, and I feel taken advantage of because I have to spend time and energy cleaning up after you. So when you leave the den, I want you to bring your dirty dishes to the kitchen and put them in the dishwasher. It's a simple I message. So there's two variations to the I message, and we can make it stronger. So the first one is getting agreement. Will you do that? You can make an I message even stronger when we get an agreement from the child about the behavior that you want changed. And that can be done by simply adding the question, will you do that? And then maintaining eye contact and don't move until you get a yes. Saying yes verbally commits the child to action and helps motivate them to follow through later. And you can also do this by changing that last step of the I message from I would like to will you please. So for example, I have a problem with you leaving dirty dishes in the den. I feel taken advantage of because I have to spend my time and energy cleaning up after you. When you leave the den, I want you to bring your dirty dishes to the kitchen and put them in the dishwasher. Will you do that? And then the second one is this, just a little variation in this, is asking when, establishing a time frame. Every parent knows the frustration of getting an agreement from a child about doing something and then still finding it undone hours later and confronting the child only to hear the refrain, I'll do it. The implication, of course, is I'll do it when I get around to it. And that may not occur while you're still young enough to even care. So your solution is to get a clear agreement as to when the behavior will be completed. So in that example I just gave you, the when is built into the phrase, when you're finished. Or you can just simply ask when, right after your child agrees agrees to the request. And we know that changing habits is not easy for anyone. Your child has gotten used to whatever behavior you're trying to change. And even with good intentions, they're probably going to sometimes forget. Other times, they may test to see if you're really committed to the change by sliding back into those old negative behaviors. In either case, your next step is to give a very short but firm reminder. By suspending the rules of grammar and syntax, you give the message additional oomph. So, for example, dishes, sink, now. The fewer words you use, the better. Avoid the temptation to give a lecture on responsibility. Just make solid eye contact and firmly remind your child about what you want done and when. Your child may very well spring into action, amazing you and surprising themselves in the process. And if so, build on that success by encouraging them with a thank you. Even if they're less than enthusiastic, focus on the positive behavior at that point and not the negative attitude. So, for example, you might say, dishes, sink, now. And the child may say, whatever, as they slowly get up and slouch towards the kitchen with their dirty dishes in their hand. So we want to make sure that we're not doing this. What's your problem? I don't see why you can't do a simple thing like put your damn dishes in the sink without making a huge deal about it. Is that too much to ask? We just want to simply say, thank you, appreciate it. Your encouragement may eventually help change his attitude to match his behavior. So keep it positive.